June 23rd, 1972 is an important day in the history of this country because of that breakthrough legislation which was passed, which really provided opportunities for women and girls that they had never had before in the history of this country.
The law is only 37 words, as I recall, but it has a big punch. Title IX is designed to provide equality of opportunity for young women. That was not the case before Title IX.
I graduated from college before Title IX passed, but my entire school experience was at a girls' school in high school and in college. So I was one of the few women my age who actually could play sports because women's schools and private schools had sports activities. Public schools and parochial schools didn't. They just stopped. So when I got to college, I learned how many girls my age had come out of a high school experience where, starting in about the 6th or 7th grade, sports just stopped. It didn't matter if they had talent or interest, there just weren't opportunities.
It's amazing, the change because of Title IX. And, it was just, very fortunate that I was able to see that and to understand how many people were going to benefit because of Title IX.
I think it really did make a huge, huge difference. We had kind of a joke in my family because I actually won the Teddy Roosevelt NCAA award for being a scholar athlete. That was in the days when there were no girls' varsity sports, and so how I managed to get that award is beyond me, but the bottom line is it made a huge, huge difference in terms of the way that girls and women see each other as capable of competing on an equal field and winning.
In 7th grade, my first goal was to play in the NBA because the WNBA wasn't around. And I worked and I worked and I was determined to be a player in the NBA and following my father's footsteps. And then the WNBA came around my freshman year in college at the University of Tennessee, and my goals switched, and it was kind of like a dream come true, just having the opportunity to not play with the NBA where I started, but wanting to play in the WNBA with ladies that have the same dreams and the same goals as me.
Everything's accepted now for women in athletics, and I think Title IX was a big part of that. And I know just as long as I've been coaching, just once Title IX came around, you just opened doors for so many people, and not just in basketball.
When I first got interested in this with the Equal Rights Amendment, which was sort of the grandfather of Title IX, my late wife said, "Well, Birch, you can't ignore the brain power of 53% of the American people." We tend to think of Title IX when we look at the sports pages. But when you really look at Title IX, the big benefit from Title IX comes from young women having the opportunity academically to learn.
The fact that we're sitting here today in 2012 with over half of the college students are women, over half of the graduate students in all kinds of fields are women, and the notion that one of the fastest growing segments of our economy are women-owned businesses. We know that opening the doors for women to be in science and technology and engineering are hugely important, not just for the advancement of those women and their families, but for this country, to lift up over half of our population and make sure that we are fully productive and fully prosperous in the future means empowering women and girls, and Title IX took a huge step in that direction.
Well, I believe it was so monumental when it was passed just because, obviously the opportunity that it has afforded all of us. And, when I think about what I'm able to do now, playing in the WNBA and being able to be such a huge role model for so many young girls, I think of all the people that came before us, and not just women, but even the men that helped in passing this law and in making it that important that girls get the same opportunity that men get.
I think it's probably exceeded the expectations because we didn't fully realize the degree of discrimination that was going on at the time. We've arrived. When you ask young women in high school and really in some of our college and university teams, did Title IX help you And he had a blank stare. What's Title IX? They don't think they're getting special treatment. And they aren't. They're being treated equally the way they should have been in the first place. Title IX made that possible.